Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's Jack and Keith Weekend Playbook. It's Friday, and the NFL's winding down, so we got to find other stuff to talk about. But we got some stuff today, and I welcome in my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and all-around sports guru, Jack Hirsch. How are you, Jack?
Hey, good, Keith. That intro is so long. It reminds me of what George Allen once said when an offensive line was giving the quarterback so much time, there was no pass rush. He said about the quarterback, he has enough time to fix a sandwich.
It does. It's longer for us because there's like a 30-second delay on the sites we go to.
Yeah.
And Facebook is so, listen, I hate to bite the hand that feeds me, but Facebook sucks. I'm sorry. And
No, I'll cut us off. Don't say that. I love Facebook.
I call them all kinds of
The
names.
birds in the background love Facebook.
Anyway, welcome everybody watching today on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you are. And you can check the groups out, which are not scrolling for some reason. We're going to get some of our favorite groups here. I thank all the groups always. Jack, we're going to jump into some different stuff today as soon as I stop some music from playing. NFL's kind of winding down. We haven't talked. We're over a week now into the Olympics. We haven't even had a chance to really talk about it. And there's been some noteworthy stuff going on. The men's hockey got started last night with a 5-1 win over Latvia. The women dismantled Canada, who they'll probably see again in the gold medal game, I would guess. 5-0 the other night. Some other news. What do you think it is about the Olympics that I'm assuming people are watching? Why aren't we talking about it?
I think the time difference in part in the United States, because when the events are live, it's in the daytime where most people at work. It's not in prime time. And unfortunately, the other news channels, sports channels, etc., they sometimes give the viewers the results beforehand. I mean, it flashes across the screen, and you see who won an event, who got gold, silver, bronze. So that makes it a little harder to then go to NBC Peacock to watch it. And, oh, by the way, Netflix has a good documentary on the 1980 United States Olympic hockey team.
Haven't watched it yet.
One. Yeah, it's a very good one, by the way. And you need storylines to develop. You know, the Lindsey Vonn storyline never really took off because she re-injured herself and was out of the Olympics virtually as soon as it started. So it's storylines and athletes, particular things grab us. And I don't think that's quite happened yet. But as the Olympics unfolds, you know, maybe a couple of more storylines are going to come into play.
Well, maybe not, entire days of curling might improve things. Curling I don't understand it. I don't get the infatuation with curling, but it's huge. That's all you see all day long, it seems like, is curling.
Well, that's a 53-year-old guy,
okay,
who's in the Olympics. And it reminds me of what Joe Frazier said. He wasn't a fan of golf. He didn't think golf was a sport. And he says, look, if a 60-year-old could play it and be, at top level, it's not a sport.
I take offense
to
that.
That was his opinion.
That was Mac's opinion, too, if you remember.
No.
Mac hated it anytime I brought up golf. So, it's funny. You talk about the live portion. When we did play here, if you remember, you mentioned the 80 hockey team, which I have that queued up to watch. I haven't watched it since we got home, but I will probably this weekend. So many people think they watched that game live in 1980. They didn't. That game was played during the afternoon, even in Lake Placid, and they watched it at night. And people today still say, I watched that live, and nobody watched it live. And we don't even realize it. But today it's very obviously when you're playing. And
I think some of the big storylines have to do in this Winter Olympics with social media. Athletes linked to political views and so on, going back and forth. And it's a shame because the performances should be the headline. And with the Ukrainian athlete, for example, the question is, should he have been allowed to participate? You have his name, Keith, right?
Stanislav Hirsch, I'm going to say.
Right.
Close I'm going to get. He had fallen athletes from the Ukraine and coaches. The images on his helmet and the OSC said it could not play. And, listen, it's a very political organization to begin with. I'm not in favor. Like we've seen it with some U.S. Athletes as well, by the way, criticizing their country as they're accepting their medals. I don't like. This is a little bit different to me. And I think they should let this guy compete. That's just
unacceptable for any athlete of any country to represent his country in the Olympics and to start criticizing them on the world stage like that, because they're sent by the country as a representative. And I kind of feel it's in bad taste. There are always going to be issues that are wrong with every country. Don't misunderstand me. And some of them are really going to be glaring. But the Ukrainian athlete, as much as it was a noble gesture on his part, as sincere as he was, and as much as he wanted to honor those who have fallen, where do we stop? That's the thing about it. That gesture in itself, I didn't have a problem with, Keith. So what's the next gesture going to be from the next athlete? Now we're setting a precedent. And where's the line going to be drawn?
Well, again, we've already had guys speaking out, which, again, in general, I don't like it. This, as you said, I think it's a noble gesture, this one. But again, that's a slippery slope, as you said. And I wish we didn't have to do this. The irony is that the OSC says you can't make political statements, and it's one of the most political organizations that I've been.
Kate, if no one was aware of injustices going on in certain countries, they weren't aware of it, then I'd be all for the athlete to raise awareness. Yeah. Okay. But everyone knows what goes on. They know the injustices that go on in countries, and it makes our blood boil in some instances. But you don't give them a reminder when you're in the Olympics, and especially on the medal stand. On reflection, you want to know something? John Carlos and Tommy Smith in the 1968 Olympics, that was a powerful message. And on reflection, I don't have a problem with that. On reflection.
Didn't they take away their medals? Well,
their medals ever returned, but
they may have been later to their much later. Right. And again, I get it. But again, today, as you said, I'm being beaten the head over with stuff 24/7. I don't need to see it from them or hear it from them. So kind of the same way.
But to sum up, what the Ukrainian athlete did in itself was a noble gesture on his part, but the Olympic Committee can't allow it to go on. And they even tried to compromise. They told him, as soon as you get off the medal platform, you can display whatever. You could do this, you could do that. They were trying to work something out, but he was so dug in, like he had to do it his way. And it's unfortunate.
It is, and he didn't get a chance to compete for something he's been working a lifetime to achieve, right? And that's really sad for him too. But I guess he knew the risk he probably was taking.
I think in later years, it sometimes maybe comes back to haunt the athlete. They think, if I had a chance to do it over again, I wouldn't have done it. They sometimes think of that, that way. And some of them feel, they're dug in for life as far as that goes.
And back to
is anything so you're looking forward to the hockey in the Olympics, Keith?
I am.
It's not the same, as it was years ago. You have NHL players there.
Well, we've had it before. I mean, we had the NHL players there for 2 or 3 Olympics, and then they went away since I think the last 3 Olympics. It's not the same as 1980. I mean, nobody's going to be shocked if the USA wins. It'd still be an upset, quite frankly, but not to the magnitude of 1980, obviously. And you lose something, I think, when you don't have that ability anymore. I like watching NHL players play only because the rest of the world are professionals as well. And they'll never compete today. If you thought they couldn't compete, we thought they won, obviously. We thought they couldn't compete in 1980. You send kids now, they can't compete against these guys from Europe. It's impossible, totally impossible. But again, I am excited to watch that. I like to see the women. The women's hockey is really good and well played as well. And the Canadian U.S. rivalry has been huge there as well as it has been on the men's side. So it's a lot of fun. I did feel kind of cheated that Lindsey Vonn. That's the one thing. If I had to say I was looking forward to one thing before the Olympics, it was seeing what Lindsey Vonn could do at 41 years old with a reconstructed knee. And because of circumstances, we kind of got cheated out of that.
Well, we were talking before the show, too. The Olympics have to do with brands. And the Lindsey Vonn brand is big. It's recognizable. You hear Lindsey Vonn is competing, you want to watch. And
right.
it's the name recognition. You see Eric Heiden in the stands for speed skating. If Eric Heiden was young again, you would watch if he was in the speed skating event. I think the Olympics also introduces us to new names. This is their chance to get on the big stage. And these are world-class athletes who've been in world championships, okay? And they've been successful in world championships, but there's nothing like the Olympic stage. The Olympic stage makes stars. The other events that they participate in, even the world championships, they don't make true stars to the public. They just become stars big within their own domain, within their own sport.
Yeah.
But someone like Lindsey Vonn, she exceeds her sport, as a personality. And that's what makes people watch events in the Olympics.
And there's been some other skiers that were good stories too. And there's been some fun. I've watched most of it though, on the news. I haven't really watched events. I've got some time during the day. I haven't really gone looking for it. I just feel like in some ways, and maybe because of some of the stuff we discussed earlier, that the Olympics are losing their luster overall. I don't think they had the viewership. It's still huge.
No, and you wonder the networks, the money they're paying and the resources they're putting into it, is it going to be worth it to them?
A lot of money.
Because the Winter Olympics are taking place in Italy, and the live events are taking place in the daytime in the East and the West Coast, the morning, the daytime. And a lot of people at work while it's going on. The same principle of why the World Series in baseball was moved tonight for the most part, because people at work, especially weekdays, it's not like years ago where you're going to play the games in the day and have less people viewing it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Is there anything you're looking forward to necessarily outside of, I don't know, maybe the hockey? Is there anything you're looking
I think the Olympics is basically, let's see what happens going forward.
Yeah.
With the events, whether anything picks up steam like the women's hockey team, the men's hockey team, other athletes, remains to be seen.
Morning, Brian, Rick, and Michael. How you guys doing? I guess, look, I'm going to pivot. I was going to pivot right to Major League Baseball, but I'll bring this up just because Rick brought up Trinidad Chambliss being eligible for the Jets.
Not eligible.
He's not. Well, he could still go to the draft if he wanted to, but he was given another year because they keep shopping for judges like everything else we do here. I don't know if the NCAA won't go shop for another judge. This was a local judge, a regional judge, that gave him a pass for another year of eligibility. I fully expect him to be playing at Ole Miss next year, so Jets got to wait a year.
Yeah, I think he'll be at Ole Miss next year. The Jets are going to be picking early in the draft again next year in all probability.
Yeah.
So Arch Manning's coming out. Chambliss will be out.
Is this
a couple other quarterbacks to keep an eye on? So they'll get their guy next year.
College sports has gotten so tedious for me, and I do a show every Wednesday night, and in the off season when there's not games to talk about, all I have to talk about is court actions, because it seems like there's 20 of these kids filing a suit to get another year or 2 years of eligibility, and it's really getting tiresome, man.
Well, the draft is a big thing to look forward to. The countdown is going to change a lot, and there are going to be certain storylines. But if I'm the Jets, who are drafting 2nd and 16th, I know this sounds crazy, Keith. I would see if I could trade those 2 number ones and wind up with 3 more number ones, get a 3-for-2 deal. I don't know how they would work it out. A team picking late in the draft might give 2 number ones to the Jets to move up to 16, and especially a team with a mid-range pick might give up a number one next year and flip-flop.
Yeah.
And I would then try to trade it all off. They have 3 number ones next year. I would love to have a scenario where I have 6 number ones next year. No number ones this year. 6 number ones next year.
That would be a record.
That would be rolling, okay?
That would be a record, and that way it'd give you a chance to miss.
Well, I remember just one year, a lot of years ago, had 4 number ones in the draft, and they're fairly successful with it. They had, John Abraham.
They've had some hits.
Another defensive lineman, Chad Pennington, and their tight end, Anthony Beck.
Listen, to finish up on Chambliss, to me, this is a good thing for Trinidad Chambliss. Going back to Ole Miss, getting another year under his belt, I think will help him. The Jets will still be in a position to draft him next year because he probably still that pick. So just
it doesn't hurt him, but I think he's basically quarterback ready.
Yeah. What else? Let's move to the Major League Baseball because pitchers and catchers have been reporting as this week has gone on. Yankees had their first workout yesterday. I think the Mets had their first one today. But there's some news with Castellanos with the Phillies, who they told not to report. Don't report to camp because we're not keeping you. We're either releasing you or trading you. And this is a guy.
They released him. He's released.
Yeah, is he gone today? Okay, the last I
saw. No. They released him, and with good reason. But my only misgiving on that, he has $20 million left on the deal. He signed a 5-year, $100 million contract, and they're eating the money for the last year. I never allow players to eat the money. I mean, teams to eat the money. If I'm the owner, I'm paying $20 million. You use him for something. I don't give a darn if he's upset. If he's going to be a hindrance, a deterrent in the clubhouse, then, we'll suspend him. We'll keep suspending him. He'll lose his money that way. We'll let the players union fight with us. I'll suspend him for 20 games and let the players union fight with us. And the worst that's going to happen to us, we'll have to give him the money anyway.
He doesn't even seem to understand. He admitted that the problem with Rob Thompson started when he brought a beer into the dugout when he was removed from the lineup. And Rob Thompson didn't play him for a long time after that. And he doesn't seem to understand why that's a problem.
Not completely accurate. They sat him for one game after that, and then he started the game after.
Well, he played much less is what I should have said. He played a lot less after that event happened last year. He didn't play a lot near the end of the season last year.
Well, he wasn't producing, and even though he did some nice things, he seemed to be an eye guy, in large part. And this is my beef with certain great talents. And Nick Castellano didn't perform like a great talent. But if a guy is going to tear up the clubhouse and the team, I consider something like that when I vote for the Hall of Fame, on certain players, if they're eye guys completely. And Nick Castellano was an eye guy. The game was in Miami. That's where he's from. He had his family and friends in the stands, and he was removed as a defensive replacement late in the game. So he was upset. He was yelling at the manager, and he went back, he got a beer, and he brought it to the bench. That's outrageous. But, but that's what's wrong with sports with discipline. You do something like that in certain European countries, you might get kicked off the team, and they might try to void your contract completely, where you get no money at all. And what happens? He didn't even get suspended, on something like that. And you come back to the dugout, and you have a beer in your hand, and Major League Baseball doesn't do anything. Suspend the darn guy for 20 games or whatever. I'm not putting up with this nonsense.
It used to be that way here. Reggie got suspended for refusing to
5 games. 5 games because Reggie Jackson was originally told to bunt by Billy Martin.
Yep.
And Reggie Jackson didn't want to bunt. So then he tried. He wasn't successful, but Reggie was upset. How dare you ask me to bunt? So Billy Martin took the bunt sign off. Reggie Jackson insisted on bunting anyway.
You remember
he was suspended for 5 games. and justifiably so. You want to know something? On reflection, retroactively, the Yankees got it right. I mean, Billy Martin should have never asked Reggie to bunt because Reggie didn't know how to bunt.
He tried to show Reggie up. That's what he liked to do. So,
well, when he had him bunt originally, I'm not sure he tried to show him up. I mean, at the first time he did, but regardless, he's asking you to bunt. He's the manager.
I get it.
Try to bunt the best way you can.
I like the Dick Hauser story. He was coaching third base. He came down after Reggie still tried to bunt. And he says, Billy doesn't want you to bunt. And he said, Reggie just kind of shrugged. So, and that led to Billy getting fired. Or, I'm sorry, Billy resigning that time. Anyway, I digress. So, Paul Castellanos. By the way, Rob Thompson, to me, is one of the
big Castellanos, yeah.
Castellanos and Thompson, they were feuding a lot of that last year. He's not a good player. He hits home runs. He doesn't do anything else. That's all he does. He doesn't play good defense. He doesn't do anything else. Somebody else he'll be somebody else's problem. Rob Thompson's one of the classiest managers in baseball. And I've said on my shows a lot, he's the guy who should be managing the Yankees right now, not Aaron Boone. They didn't even give him a interview when they let Joe Girardi go, and he was
Aaron Boone. Yeah, you're right. He has to go. I mean, the Yankees only won 94 games last year. Tied with Toronto for the best record. Went to the World Series the year. Aaron Boone has to go. Has to go.
I just said before the fact, Rob Thompson should have gotten an interview and the job.
Rob Thompson, with all the talent the Phillies have they won any more than the Yankees have?
No, they haven't.
The talent is similar to the Yankees. So what are we talking about here?
He's a better baseball mind than Aaron Boone. That's all. Again, they're not
a matter of opinion.
Yes, it is. And again, I understand that the Boone family all hates me now because none of them will ever come on my shows because they disparage Aaron so badly. Anyway, pitchers and catchers. ABS is a real thing now. They finalize a couple of things. You get 2 challenges. You will have 1 challenge per inning and extra innings, by the way, and you can't also carry over challenges into extra innings. You get 1 per inning. I'm not in favor of this, by the way. But the umpires have brought this upon themselves by not holding their old umpires to a certain standard. And some of them are so bad, I don't even have an argument against this anymore. I don't want it. I don't want more artificial intelligence in the games. But I guess we've come to this point and we're not going backwards. We never go backwards. So.
Well, one of the fun parts of baseball used to be arguing with the umpire. We used to like that. I'm a proponent of the replay. But there's got to be consequences. If a team calls for replay and it fails, I don't want them to just lose their challenge. I want them to lose an extra out, something like that. And sometimes we've seen cases where the replay is not conclusive, yet we've seen a decision overturned.
I get it for egregious things. It was brought in just for home runs originally, right? And I get it for some egregious things if you miss a call badly at first base. But when we're challenging because a guy slides on the second base and his hand or his foot comes off the bag for a split second, that's not what the rule was for. And it slows the game down. And it's not in the spirit of what we're supposed to be doing here. And that's where everything gets bastardized. Every rule we put in gets bastardized.
Kate, it's taking too long to look at replays. If you look at a replay and you're not sure, you don't overturn it. You stick with the call on the field. If you have to keep looking at it over and over and over again and dissecting it, and it's not obvious, then, like I said, you stick with the call on the field. You don't take all that time.
Do you not think that they should really get specific with what you can challenge, right? Fair, foul, home run, not a home run.
The biggest controversy is the strike zone.
Well,
that's been the biggest controversy going on.
I agree. Oh, here's the other thing too. So the strike zone is going to be smaller because they're going to measure every player in the Major League Baseball, and by consequence. For whatever reason, the strike zone is actually going to shrink.
Well, getting off that, linking that to pitching for right now.
Go ahead.
The Baltimore Orioles made a nice pickup. They got Chris Bassett, who was a free agent from Toronto. I thought Bassett would have signed earlier. I mean, I think he's going to help the Orioles. I think that's a nice addition for them. I don't mean he's going to be an ace, but he's definitely going to help. I mean, they needed another starter. They got in Bassett, and the Orioles, they've made some nice off-season moves, notably, of course, getting Pete Alonso. And I think between the Orioles and the Red Sox have made a number of moves. I'm not sure how good they are. They might be very good. They might not. Something about the Red Sox move. It seems a little dysfunctional, but good in a certain sense.
I feel better about what the Red Sox have done now than I did early in the winter. It looked a little discombobulated, but now I think it looks like they have a plan. I think arguably everybody's made. You can't argue that everybody's made more moves than the Yankees. Yankees are basically running it back, except for a handful of.
Well, they are running it back in the sense that they made a lot of moves during the season last year.
Yeah.
And now guys are going to be starting the season new. I mean, Cam, Schlitter there, he's a little hurt right now, but he's going to be with them from the beginning of the season. And the guys they got in the bullpen, like Bednard, Duvall, etc., they're going to be there from the beginning of the year. Ahmed Rosario, who wasn't there in the beginning of last year, who they picked up during the season, going to be there as a utility man. Ryan McMahon, who plays, stellar defense if he could just hit a little bit. They got Caballero, who they got in season.
I like Caballero a lot, yeah. That's good.
And I let Caballero let the majors and steals. I just let him run. I basically give him a green light for the most part because you could make him into a real weapon.
Well, he can play everywhere too, so you'll be able to play him all over the field.
Exactly, and Ahmed Rosario could play different positions. Cody Bellinger can play different positions. Slipped under the radar, the Yankees, and this was a shocker. They brought back Paul Goldschmidt, not to start.
I thought he was
back up this, but he would be excellent for defense in the late innings, replacing Ben Rice.
Okay, and he's going to play against lefties. He's going to play against lefties, probably.
You what?
He's probably going to play against lefties. I would, at least the tough lefties. He's going to start against.
He's so at this point. He got off to a good start last year and then kind of faded. And he said he was retiring.
He did.
That's the weird part about it, And I guess the Yankees reached back out to him, 1-year deal, and we welcome him back. I mean, as a defensive replacement late in games, I think he'd have a lot of value to them.
You talk about legacy players a lot too, and as do I. And this isn't really the same situation, but Jason Verlander is returning to where he started his career, which I think is a cool story. I don't know how much he can pitch anymore, quite frankly, but they've done a good job in Detroit with that pitching staff. Signing Framber Valdez, they got to figure out what they're going to do long term. But right now, they got a pretty good pitching staff.
I think they feel Justin Verlander can still pitch, and they're counting on him. And if you need any evidence of how the Tigers feel, look at the amount of money they're paying him, $13.5 million. You don't pay a guy $13.5 million for sentimental reasons. $3 million, yeah. Bring him back, let him retire as a Tiger. You give him, $3 million, and you're not counting on getting anything out of him, but anything you get is a bonus. I think the Tigers are really counting on Verlander to make a contribution. Now, last year, Verlander got off to an atrocious start. He was like 0-8. And then he actually pitched pretty well over 40-plus innings at the end of the season. So I think the Tigers are looking at that. And maybe that's the way we should look at things, not the numbers over a season, but how did someone finish? Are they on an upswing? And maybe the Tigers feel that's the real Verlander at this point. He's more that type of pitcher than the one who got off to the dreadful start early last year.
Yeah, he was pretty bad early in years.
He retired. What if Verlander's going into the Hall of Fame? What's he going in as? Tiger?
Now I would say 100% a Tiger. Since he's coming back here, likely finishing his career in Detroit, I would say he goes in as a Tiger. Yeah. I mean, because everywhere else, where's he spent any significant amount of time anywhere else? Houston?
Well, I think you look at the time frame, and look, we were talking about Reggie before. Reggie was with the Oakland Athletics for 9 years, the Yankees for 5 years, 3 world championships with the A's, 2 with the Yankees. But his greatest moments, I guess the most that we remember about him is the Yankees in that World Series, the 3 homers.
Yeah. Are we back? I'm confused. So are we back? Is the Hall of Fame back to letting guys choose their own?
No, they're choosing it for them because we had the fiasco with Wade Boggs.
Yeah.
One season with the Rays, and he picked them. Look, Dave Winfield too had a choice between the Yankees and the Padres. The Padres gave him $1 million to go in as a Padre. He took the $1 million to be a Padre.
I hate that. Catfish
Mike Mussina.
You remember? Catfish Hunter has nothing on his cap because he didn't want to choose between the Yankees and the A's.
He should have gone in as an A.
Yeah,
Catfish Hunter, absolutely.
But he decided nothing.
Well, Mike Mussina. That was a hard decision.
Yeah.
You know what it is? He pitched a little longer for the Orioles, but this is the situation. You want to go in with an iconic franchise first as a player. And if you could go in as a New York Yankee, you have all this history. You go in as a Baltimore Oriole, it's not the same. It's just not the same. Let me tell you what's going to be interesting, Keith. Keith, and about another Keith. Eventually, I think Keith Hernandez is going to get in the Hall of Fame. Eventually, that's what I think.
John Mattingly.
Now, Keith Hernandez played longer for the St. Louis Cardinals than he did for the Mets. Now, is the Hall of Fame going to consult Keith Hernandez? Because he's going to want to go in as a Met, and he should go in as a Met.
Should.
In part because he's been a Met broadcaster all these years. So he has more of a history with the Mets overall in a certain sense. But if you judge strictly on playing, Gary Carter was put in as an expo. And had Gary Carter had a choice, he may have picked the Mets to go in as a player. So, but they made the decision for him. Mike Mussina has no team. He just couldn't choose between the two.
Yeah, Catfish was the same way.
Well, Catfish forged his Hall of Fame career as an Oakland Athletic pitcher. He had one exceptional season with the Yankees. He was there a few years. He should have been an Oakland Athletic going as.
I agree 100%. Catfish had his first year was really the only great year he had.
1975, and they came second that year behind the Red Sox.
Yeah, and then his arm hurt. I mean, even in '76, he only won 17 games when they first got back to the playoffs, and after that, he was really, except for one stretch in '78. If you remember, he looked like he was done. He had some manipulation done to his arm. He pitched great down the stretch in 1978. He was a big reason the Yankees came back, but still, his greatest moments by far are in Oakland. He was dominant for a 6 or 7 or 8 year stretch there. Great pitcher.
Oh yeah. Catfish also, he pitched the final game 6, where the Yankees wrapped up the series against the Dodgers in Los Angeles. They took him out he had a 7-2 lead with 1 out in the 9th inning.
Yeah,
remember that. Yeah.
77, he wasn't even pitching in a postseason. He was hurt so bad, or pitching so bad. His arm had really been. That's a guy with a lot of miles on him, but a great pitcher nonetheless. What other big stories? We'll have more as the season goes on. We still got free agents out there. The free agent season seems to go until the season.
There were free agents out there that are worth anything now.
There's a couple still out there. Well, Valdez was really the best one left, and he signs it. He signs.
That's not me. What the Tigers offered him, the amount of money. Big money in Skubal. They were like, man, they made him go to arbitration. Tyreek Skubal. Skubal won his arbitration case. He's getting $32 million, a record in arbitration. But he's 1 year away from free agency, Skubal. Why are they screwing around, giving Framber out, that money and not Skubal?
I'm
mean,
not
it
sure
makes
he's going to be there.
I would break the bank for Scooble to make him a career Tiger. Come on, because someone else is going to do it.
Well, they are playing with fire right now for sure. Spring training.
Forget Valdez and Verlander. If you combine the money that they're giving them, you know, Scooble is worth more than the two of them combined, easily.
You know, the Tigers right now, maybe they should bring Scherzer back too and put Jim Leland on the bench, and we can revisit, 20 years ago with the.
I like Jim Leland. I wasn't a Tony La Russa fan, but I love Jim Leland. I thought he was a good manager.
You had to love Jim Leland. He was an old school man.
Oh, Jim Leland, yeah, and that classic thing we saw, the video footage of him telling off Barry Bonds. I mean, that was great because Bonds was the big star, and he was talking back to a coach.
Never going to happen.
Leland got in his face that he's not putting up with any of his nonsense, that he better stop it. And the good thing is ownership would have had Leland's back. In this day and age, if a manager tells off a star player for being lazy or loafing it, a coach could lose their job. That's part of the discipline in all this. I mean, it's awful what it's come down to. I mean, these commissioners, they give off these lame penalties like the NBA did. Adam Silver, who's a nice person, heart of gold, but he's a wimp. He's an absolute wimp, Adam Silver. Isaiah Stewart of the Pistons is going crazy on the court, creating chaos, creating a dangerous scene, and he gets 7 games. Suspend the darn guy for 25 games. Get your point across. We're not putting up with this.
We're too easy on all players and all.
We're too easy on all the athletes. They can do whatever the heck they want. A player can get in a manager's face, start cursing them out, this. And what's he going to get? Maybe a 1-game suspension, a slap on the wrist? I mean, it's insane.
We need to return to the days of Jim Leland's and maybe get a few Aaron Boones out of here. How about that?
Wait. Sometimes players act a certain way, and it is dealt with behind closed doors. Aaron Boone has dealt with a lot, I'm sure, behind closed doors where they haven't gone public with it. I respect that element of it. You don't have to necessarily go out in the public and say, well, I don't like the way he acted. You could say we've dealt with it behind closed doors, and you let the player know very firmly what the deal is and give the player a chance to come around. And then if he doesn't, then you take action.
You just stop excusing bad behavior and making excuses
what bad behavior there's been on the Yankees?
I'm not talking about bad, not with the Yankees necessarily, but mistakes, the same mental mistakes over and over and over again, and we just excuse them away. That's what I'm talking about. That's my biggest problem with Aaron Boone. He doesn't hold anybody accountable. Maybe he does behind closed doors. I'm not saying he doesn't. But now and again, you got to call a guy out. I'm sorry, you do. He didn't do it to you. So, Gleyber Torres forever would run through signs and just freaking run bases like, his strategy was run until he got tagged, and we never called him out. Even Aaron Judge, they're the worst base running team still in baseball today. And they have been since the day Aaron Boone got there. And I don't know why I hold that against him so much, but I do.
Fundamentally, you have to get coaches who are working with the players on these things.
I don't disagree. But again, at the end of the day, the players are accountable for what they do on the field.
Gleyber Torres, the Tigers seem to like him. They signed to a 1-year deal and they brought him back.
I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I don't think fundamentally he's a very good baseball player. He's got talent, but fundamentals, no. That's part of baseball. Well, it used to be. Yeah. Fundamentals have gone the way of Jim Leland. Let's put it that way. Anything else in baseball? We got the WBC. I don't know if we talked about it. I'm a huge WBC fan. It starts on March 15th, runs through the 17th. A lot of the big names are going to be there. More and more every year. There's more and more big names, and
it gets fun as the tournament goes along. I went to a game a few years ago. I mean, I think did I go? The Dominican Republic was playing Israel.
Wow.
The stands were empty in Miami. For that one, and the WBC is fun only to me in the sense it has all this talent. It matters more, it seems, to other countries than it does the United States. I mean, if
Latin
the
America.
United States, I watched the WBC final game, the last tournament between Japan and the United States.
Yeah.
When it gets to the finals, you're rooting for the United States, because it's one game and this is it. And Japan won, but would I have been I don't want to use the word devastated. Did it impact me as much as if the Yankees lost, in the World Series? No, it didn't.
I'm not saying it should. I think this is a fun international competition we play every 4 years, and I think it's worthwhile endeavor.
And it means more to other countries than it does us. I know a lot of years ago, the United States in the Olympics, we're talking about before in soccer, the United States was playing Iran. And the United States lost the game. It was in the daytime. Everyone was at work. And I think, over 90% of the people in the United States, probably 97%, didn't even know about it. Cared about it. Okay, we lost in soccer. We don't follow soccer in the Olympics anyway. But in Iran, they were having celebrations in the streets, like the whole country was into it. But in the United States, it was like, who cares? You won in soccer.
The WBC, you're right. It does matter to other countries probably more than us, and that bothers me a little bit too.
In Japan, the last finals.
It's even
gotten the USA. I think it meant a lot more in Japan than here.
It means more in the Latin American countries too, I would say, 100%. And the other countries that haven't been very good, the Netherlands, Britain.
Yeah.
These teams have gotten much more serious about this.
And I can't picture Britain competing in baseball.
They need better uniforms. Last year, the
Netherlands, I know it's produced some major leaguers, but somehow I can't think of the Netherlands as being a baseball.
The Netherlands has got Bert Blyleven's their pitching coach the last.
Yeah, I know. I mean, no, I hear you. But I think of baseball in other countries, the Dominican Republic, Japan. Even we see with the Little League with South Korea.
Italy's gotten a little better.
Yeah.
Let's pivot. One other thing, we talked about the Olympics we haven't talked much about. We haven't really talked any NBA. We got half a season's gone by. The All-Star weekend's here. Do we care about the All-Star? Who cares? I don't even know the format they play. It's probably better than what they were doing, but I don't even understand the whole thing. Do you watch any of these All-Star weekend events anymore? I don't.
No, I don't. I don't care the slam dunk, to this, to that. I can understand people watching the slam dunk contest. What's it called? Is it called slam dunk?
That's pretty simple.
Yeah, I can understand some people find it entertaining, athletic, certain moves being made, and I don't want to see a player jumping over a car, something like that. Once someone gets hurt, you can eliminate that. But it's just a playground game. They're great playground players. There was 1 year, though. 1 year at the end of the game, the players bandied together on both teams, and they decided we really want to win. And they were playing it like it was an NBA playoff game, and it was like awesome, that All-Star game. You know how you solve the problem, Keith? I have a solution for the NBA, Major League Baseball. The winning team, every player gets $1 million. The losing team gets nothing. Believe me, everyone will want to win for the $1 million. I don't care how much money these guys are making. $1 million, it's like the ultimate bet to them. How to win the game, play the best players. None of this run and gun, long three-point shooting stuff. The players would play smart, they would play hard on defense, and in Major League Baseball, the guys would be playing really hard out there. They'd be trying to take the extra base when they could, knock a fielder over when allowed. I mean, $1 million winner, nothing for the loser.
I think you're onto something, because when MLB went to, the winner of the All-Star game got home field advantage in the World Series, that was one of the stupidest things they've ever done. Because you got a bunch of guys playing at the end of the game that aren't going to be involved in the postseason, and they're going to decide who's the home field advantage in the World Series.
And they don't know whether they're going to be there at the end. And the one extra game isn't that big a deal in baseball. I hate to say it.
It is. You and I disagree on this home field advantage, I think, everywhere. I think
it means a little. It means you'd rather be home, obviously. But even if you look, I don't know what the stat is, even if you look at the NFL and Major League Baseball, what's the winning percentage at home as opposed to being on the road?
Overall?
It's pretty close.
Yeah, I don't know if that's not, because you've got really bad teams involved in that too, and I don't know that you can really, you got to have some kind of.
Look, I'm going to give you an example. In Major League Baseball, last World Series, the Blue Jays, the last 4 games, the visiting team won.
Okay,
the Blue Jays at home won games 4 and 5. No, the Blue Jays in Los Angeles won games 4 and 5. Blue Jays come home with a 3-2 lead over the Dodgers and lose games 6 and 7 at home.
Let me find something here. You talk for one more minute. You can fill that in. Home team.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, you just look at the overall, how teams perform, at home as compared to away. The year before, the Dodgers beat the Yankees in 5 games. They won the last 2 games at Yankee Stadium. I mean, I would rather be home, and in the NBA too, it used to be major home court advantage. The home team used to seem to win all the time. It's just not quite that way anymore.
Game by game probability in 2-3-2 format, the 54% for the home team. So it's not huge, but
it means a little. Listen, it means a little.
But that's game by game, by the way. That's not series. In the series, though, since in the wild card area, 69% of the home teams win the series. That's a lot. 69.
That is a lot. Yeah.
Game by game, it doesn't matter as much. It's 54% game by game, but it's almost 70%.
Well, part of that too, Keith, but that could be a little deceiving, because in the wild card era, I would bet too, the teams that won 69% of the time, that's stacked. The team with home field advantage usually is a little bit the better team because they have a better record.
Yeah.
During the S, they are a little better going into the series.
I think James' point here is probably relevant too. I think home field advantage is more important in certain locations. He's talking about the Saints one time had a great home field advantage. Right now, the Seattle Seahawks have a great home field advantage. It depends on the season, probably, and the specific team.
The Seahawks are better than any other team. That's what the advantage is.
Agreed. That's like Colorado Rockies are going to lose everywhere, so it really doesn't. We can't use them as factoring, right? So anyway, we don't care about we're back to the NBA. We don't care about the All-Star weekend. I really don't care. Good luck to the Knicks that are involved. And
with the NBA, it's going to be interesting to see how the playoffs play out. I mean, I would guess a healthy OKC team would be the favorites, but if they run up against San Antonio when Wembanyama's healthy and everyone's healthy at San Antonio has basically, owned the OKC in regular season play this year.
I think
they've beaten them the last 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, and there's no reason why that couldn't carry over into the playoffs if they meet one another.
Well, didn't OKC get out like 23-1 or something like that? I mean,
SGA was saying how much they want. SGA was saying they want to break the regular season win total at 73 wins by the Golden State. The Golden State said that they can't do it anymore. It kind of reminds me of what this broadcast, I don't know whether you remember Claire Mosier. He was a broadcaster many moons ago on WOR New York, Channel 9.
Name sounds familiar.
He was funny because Ralph Houk was managing the Yankees at the time, and that's when the Yankees were faded. But Ralph Houk said if we could be at 500 at the All-Star break, we're going to win the pennant. Clem Mosier said for that to happen, the Yankees are going to have to win 8 of their next 5 games. So,
well, that's the way I math. So
yeah.
What do we think about the Knicks and the Mike Brown era? It's been kind of, the record's fine. I mean, it's been kind of a roller coaster ride, which I think we expected with a new system, a lot of new players. I'm kind of happy where the Knicks sit right now. No major injuries at the moment.
We should get from James Martin's New Orleans Pelicans. It would be nice if the Knicks could have made a deal. I could getting Zion Williamson. Somehow I think Zion is going to be in the Knick uniform. Somehow I don't think Giannis is ever winding up in a Knick uniform, despite what people say in the off season. If the Knicks don't get to the finals, they're going to make some type of move. But sometimes, Keith, the best moves are the ones you don't make. But getting Giannis means you break up your team. And if it hasn't worked for Milwaukee, breaking up the team, it's not going to work for the Knicks. And Giannis is great. Giannis is great, don't get me wrong. But I think the Pelicans, they're going to have to move on from Zion at some point.
I'm not a big Zion fan, as we talked about on these shows in the past, but
he's playing well, but you sell high. When a player's really playing well, that's the time you trade. You don't wait till he's injured.
Here's the other shoe. He's going to get hurt. He's going to come to New York. He's going to play 50 games a year, be hurt and apply. We've seen it with Abbott. What's his name? The guy came from Detroit. I'm forgetting his name now. Or Toronto. A couple years ago. He's a great player.
Ananobi, he's been healthy.
Hurt too much, though. You got to be availability is the best. You got to be available.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to take a little bit of a chance on a guy. A little. You know what I used to argue about all the time with Mac and Dr. Paul Semendinger? They felt Aaron Judge's value, this was a few years ago, wasn't really that high because he gets hurt too much.
Well, I
thought that was a myth. That was a myth. Aaron Judge got hurt once. He got hit with a pitch. Anyone could get hurt getting hit with a pitch. The other time, the Dodgers had a faulty outfield fence or wall or whatever. It never should have happened. That doesn't make him injury prone.
I agree.
Aaron Judge isn't injury prone. It doesn't mean he won't get injured. Stanton is injury prone. Giancarlo Stanton.
Yes.
That's the type of player that's injury prone.
So is
another myth that drives me crazy, Keith. They say, "Oh, don't play Aaron Judge in center field. You want to play him in right field because you want to save his legs." Save his legs? That is so idiotic, Keith.
No, it's not.
It is idiotic. If anything, you want the running is good for guys' legs working out.
I'm not going to give you a pass on that one. First of all, that is true. You do have a lot more ground to cover, and you do a lot more running. Whether that wears you down or not, all right, I'll give you that. Maybe it doesn't. I will tell you that Aaron Judge playing in right center field and Stanton playing in right field weakens two positions because he's not as good a center fielder as he is a right fielder, and Stanton can't play the outfield at all.
Judge should be in right field because he's better defensively as a right fielder than a center fielder. I'm going to give you that. Exactly. Judge is an excellent right fielder. Center fielder, he's adequate in center field. He's adequate. Okay, he's okay. I mean, he's not going to win a Gold Glove as a center fielder. He could win a Gold Glove as a right fielder. That's how good he is. But it's not saving him from anything. That's the point.
I tend to disagree, but whatever. Again, it's not as that big a deal. To me, it's the downgrade in defense, right? From right field to center field, because he's.
Oh yeah, I can buy that argument. You're saying he's a better right field, and that's where he should be. I'm fine with that, and I don't disagree on that point. But he's not more likely to get injured playing center field, and it's been proven. Aaron Boone even was saying, he was talking with Aaron Judge, and the two of them were laughing, saying, you've been your healthiest since you played center field.
Well, there's less things to run into out there, I guess. But listen, I'm not saying he's more likely to get hurt playing center field. I'm saying he's more likely to wear down faster later in the season. If he played an entire season in center field, I don't think he'd be as effective as playing in right field. I really don't, because you are going to do a lot more running around, especially with the. What?
Keith.
Go ahead.
I went out yesterday. Okay, for example.
Go ahead.
I ran 3.5 miles. I jogged yesterday. Okay, I jogged.
In a row?
I'm an old guy. I admit that, there's a tie out to a degree afterwards, whatever. But Aaron Judge is doing a lot less running in center field than that, back and forth. So if you want to look at the sum total, and I'm sure he's more athletic and more fit than I am. I
don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, Jack. Actually.
Yeah.
Back to the NBA for a second. One thing I found, I know you were talking about fines. I'm not interested in the fine. We have fights and fines. The fines that I'm interested in, the Jazz got fined $500,000 and the Pacers $100,000, which is peanuts. But for sitting players during road games, and this whole we talk about the load management and the unfairness of a team might come to a city one time and they're going to sit their stars because they don't want them to play. The NBA is starting to crack down on this, and I wonder if it's something that will carry over and get bigger as we go forward.
They've got to find a solution to this. I understand once in a while you want to rest the player. I get that, but people are coming out to see certain star players, and maybe there should be, some type of middle ground where you have to play a player X amount of minutes. If the Lakers are coming to town and I want to see LeBron James and Luka play, and I don't get to see them play because they're being rested, I kind of feel I'm being cheated. If they're genuinely injured, we understand that's part of it. Okay, but this load management thing, it's been an issue for a while, and there's got to be a resolution.
I mean, guys were able to play years ago without load management. They play 82 games. A lot of guys have played the entire season. They'd average 45 minutes a game. Chamberlain.
Keith, take non-NBA players, guys who play in the park. You can give them a basketball, and they will play 7 days a week, 365 days a year, running up and down the court. And they're putting in part, the same effort, only effort, not skill, that an NBA guy is if running up and down the court. Maybe a little less of an effort. I understand. I don't mean to downplay the NBA. I understand with the jumping and the defense you have to play that guys don't play in the playground. So I didn't mean to diminish what the NBA guys do. But, I mean, you know what they're doing, Keith? They're saving guys for the playoffs. That's what they're basically doing. There's no load management in the playoffs. Notice that. None at all.
Well, there shouldn't
Everyone plays in the playoffs. They don't think the regular season is that important. They know they're going to get an approximate position in the playoffs, the play-in standings.
Too many teams make the playoffs. If less teams made the playoffs, you wouldn't see load management because you wouldn't be able to take games off. You'd need to win every game.
Some of them might withhold players because they, cap out their pick in the draft lottery. I mean, there's different factors.
Listen, speaking about effort, LeBron James becomes the oldest guy in NBA history to record a triple-double. Does LeBron get his due as a great player? I think too many people are down on LeBron. I get why you are at times, but he's one of the best players in NBA history, and he's playing at a level. at 41 that nobody really does.
I mean, how can you find anyone who would say LeBron James isn't one of the best players in NBA history? The question is whether he's the very best or not.
Well,
that's
top
the
5
only question.
He's top 5.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he's the best, but listen, Michael Jordan's a great player. You ever look at John Havlicek's numbers compared to Jordan's in championships? Guess who's a better player? John Havlicek.
But I always do the naked eye test, and come on, I mean, Michael Jordan's obviously clearly a better player than John Havlicek.
Is he? They didn't play against each other. I don't know.
Listen, have you been hanging out with Isaiah Thomas? Because last I saw, I mean, Jordan was maybe slipping out of his top 10 of all time.
I'm not saying that again. I'm just saying there are certain guys who don't get their due. John Havlicek, I'm not a Celtics fan by any stretch of imagination. To me, one of those guys, and we should have talked about that. I don't know how this didn't come up when we were talking about great players a couple weeks ago on a show we taped. Havlicek is one of the most underrated players of all time. When you just look at the numbers, I understand you watch them play each other. We're never going to see that. You got to use some comparison, and his numbers say he's top 10.
You know who I compare Havlicek to, and maybe this is an insult to Havlicek. I'm thinking him and Cooper Flagg, the similarities.
It's too early to
say. Too early, yeah. But that whole era is underrated.
I agree.
You know what the Celtics did, players like Bob Cousy, who was on the Celtics, in the early part of their championship runs. Players were taught to play a certain way. That's why when you watch the old-time NBA players, they were asked to dribble a certain way. They were told they had to. Yeah. I gave you an example of baseball players, first basemen, were told they had to catch the ball with 2 hands a lot of the time. They weren't allowed infielders. That was a pop-up. They'd have to hold 2 hands together. Now it's 1 hand. The outfield is 1 hand. The players were made to be too stiff with the coaching. They would be yelled at if they weren't listening. Guys would have made the adjustment. Havlicek is so athletic. He would have been outstanding today. He would have made all the adjustments needed. And easily. Yeah.
He was a great athlete. He got better as he got older too. He was a great player.
LeBron, what he's able to do at his age. If your criteria is longevity, then LeBron is the greatest of all time. There's longevity, then there's peak value. Some guys are a little better than the others at peak value. That's why people regard Sandy Koufax and Jim Brown. Some people think they're the greatest pitcher and running back, respectfully. But
that's fair.
Over whole career, neither of them is the best ever. How could you put Sandy Koufax ahead of Roger Clemens? Not for career. Not even close.
There's a ton.
But if you want to look at what the two of them could do at their very best, at their zenith, that's the argument you could make for one guy being over another as well.
Well,
Jordan and LeBron. Jordan at peak value is maybe a little better than LeBron. But LeBron, what he's done over his career, the numbers he's put up is maybe a little more impressive.
Right, and everybody can use whichever narrative they want to make their case, right? And for one, go back to Koufax. I love a lot of pitchers, and I didn't see Koufax at his peak, except in, on tape, on video. One game at the peak of their career, I got to win. I want Koufax on the mound. Nobody else. Well,
Koufax pitched the 1965 World Series when the Dodgers played the Minnesota Twins. Sandy Koufax pitched that game on 2 days rest. In game 7, 2 days rest, he pitched a complete game 3-hitter to win 2-0. I mean, think of that, 2 days rest.
Yep. Isn't that the famous line when Vin Scully asked him about, he said, a couple of days ago, I asked you how you felt after the game, and you said you felt 100 years old. He said, how do you feel today? He said, 101. So he's a great player. Jack, anything in boxing we should know about before we wrap it up this morning?
No, nothing in boxing.
News?
well, Golden Boy, promotions is suing Virgil Ortiz's manager, figuring that he interfered with the fight, with Boots Ennis and interfered with the contract. And Deontay Wilder's fighting Derek Chisora April 4th in England. Maybe, yeah, I think Wilder's a sharp fighter. And Alexander Usyk is looking for his next opponent to, defend his world heavyweight title against. And, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern right now. Dana White has due for boxing. He's gotten into boxing. Let's see the inroads he makes in the sport. He's putting on some smaller fights right now, but they'll tend to add up. And I get the feeling Dana White is maybe a little bored with boxing, but he's making a go of it.
Interesting stuff. Rick, I did see your question for Jack earlier, and I'm going to put that on hold for the moment only because there's still some stuff on Jack's end being worked out. So we'll address that question later. That was earlier, and I let it slide. Good stuff. Check more boxing stuff out with Jack and Frank Laterzo on Monday nights with the Glove Fest. Great stuff every week. Once they get the boxing, and Frank stops talking about whatever other sports they get the moment. But we got to get Frank on here some morning, have some fun with him.
He could fill in for me maybe one day here, Frank. But the football, all he wants to do is talk football during the boxing show.
Well, why would you talk boxing? So check Jack out tomorrow morning as well with James and Brian on the debate show. And I'll be on Sunday morning with the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. And I'll be back this afternoon, by the way, with the MLB update. Lots of baseball news to talk about, even more than what we talked about today. So we'll see you guys then. And have a great weekend. Jack, have a great weekend. Bye-bye, guys.